Cameron, leaving Sirius XM, just got done with the Max B interview. Max B had the NY streets flooded. But Jimmy acting like he can't see the water rising.
Me and these niggas go back like 40 years. When you hear that you definitely didn't come home, what's the energy? Because I'm going to keep it 100. Yo, Killer, I got to talk to the governor in Jersey.
Yeah,
once I speak to the mayor in East Brunswick, I'm coming up. It was, like I said, you just got to switch the mindset.
Max B coming home. Where we at with that? Are you able to get past that?
The entire rap culture reacted as if someone had just switched a citywide light switch when Max returned to the Globe. Everywhere, conversation began. Old clips came back to life. All of a sudden, everyone was curious about who was standing with him and who wasn't. At that point, Jim Jones started acting a little strangely, making remarks on the internet that caused people to shake their heads and ask, "Whoa, what does that mean?" When Max and May sat down for the first time, things became even more heated. Suddenly, Cam made the audacious statement, Jim still feels uneasy when Max's name pops up after all these years. The internet went crazy when they heard that, because if it's true, there is much more going on here than just a simple argument. We're going all the way in now. What first led to the tension? Why does Jim continue to act in this manner, and why does the room tremble whenever Max's name is uttered when he returns home? Max B, also known as Max B Golf, has consistently been one of those performers who make people say, wow, he really shifted the whole scene without getting the shine he deserved.
Past it at some point.
You want me to crash out?
I definitely don't want you to crash out because I don't want to crash.
Every layer you remove reveals a person who subtly influenced a significant portion of the New York sound. Charlie Wingate is his true name. He was raised in Harlem, was born in Harlem, and exuded Harlem fire in every song he touched. He rose to prominence with Jim Jones's Bird Gang in the early to mid-2000s. Here's the twist though. Max was more than just a background guy. No one else in the city was truly performing his loose, lyrical, half-rapped, half-sung manner. It had a smooth, raw, and distinct feel, and people were unable to get rid of it. People identify subsequent musicians like A$AP Rocky with the whole wavy, laid-back, vibe-heavy New York sound. Before anyone realized it would blow up, Max was already residing in that lane.
Her name was Cindy and Mindy, I wasn't sure cause I was too tipsy off the rim, playing big in the van. Me green, my dick was a buckle, I was the ATM machine. Had the sparkle all in my ear, low, never long the low, nipples and blowing.
His impact was subtle yet evident. He wasn't merely releasing songs either. He was saturating the streets with vintage recordings, Coke Wave with French Montana, the Public Domain series, $1 Million Baby, and more. These weren't merely projects, they developed into cult favorites. Max was the rapper that other rappers looked up to, stole from, and attempted to imitate, even in the absence of mainstream radio. He left a genuine imprint. However, everything changed in 2006, just as he was reaching his zenith. Max's career took an unexpected turn when he was drawn into a big robbery case that derailed his entire ascent. On September 22, 2006, a chaotic, dramatic, and weighty incident took place when Max B's ex-girlfriend, Gina Conwa, told him about a man she had recently met named Alan J. Plowin. The situation took a terrible turn.
I ain't gonna lie, Max B really inspired my whole rapping career too. I feel like, not rapping career, but you see the way I'm making melodies.
Yeah.
He was a big part of that because before I started rapping, I was singing Max B all.
She said he had actual money with him. Max allegedly regarded that knowledge as an opportunity he couldn't pass on, rather than allowing it to remain innocuous. He contacted his stepbrother Kelvin Levo and asked Gina to accompany him, starting a chain of events that would ultimately ruin many lives. Plowden was sleeping at a Holiday Inn in Fort Lee, which Kelvin, Gina, and the Plan brought them there. When Gina knocked on the door, Giselle Neefs, another woman, answered. She clarified that Plowden was asleep, but before things could continue as usual, Kelvin drew a revolver and threatened Giselle. After Gina restrained her with duct tape, the situation quickly descended into chaos. They began destroying the chamber in an attempt to find the money they thought was concealed there, but nothing was found. At that point, they filmed Plowden, woke him up, and asked him about the money. There was no money in that chamber, according to Plowden. Kelvin then instructed him to phone David Taylor, his business partner, and requested he bring the money over.
Kids go, where's daughter?
Let's not get close to the gate, guys.
They're gonna tell us to move.
There must have been a lot of tension in that room. Everything got out of hand even more quickly after Taylor arrived. He retaliated against Kelvin as soon as he entered and realized what was going on. Taylor was tragically struck and killed when the gun went off during the scuffle. In an instant, the situation changed from a heist to something much worse. Following the shooting, Kelvin snatched Taylor's watch, and Gina took Giselle's purse and about $800 from Taylor's pockets. The heartbreaking thing was that these individuals sacrificed their futures for minor things and pocket money. It wasn't a big plan. It wasn't high-level money, just a horrible series of choices that permanently altered everything. Plowin told the hotel what had transpired as soon as they ran away. Authorities discovered him attempting to conceal about $30,000 when they arrived. That decision backfired on him since, in addition to seeing everything that transpired, he ended up in legal hot water. Gina didn't hold anything back when the cops picked her up a few days later. She described Kelvin's and Max's roles as well as how the entire scheme worked. Following that declaration, Max and Kelvin were taken into custody and charged with several offenses, and Max was detained on a hefty $2 million bail while the case was being investigated. Gina decided to accept a plea deal around 2009. She agreed to testify after admitting to manslaughter and armed robbery. She might spend up to 18 years in prison.
Work for that cornball ass again. Me? I'm a boss. I'm not with that. It's never nothing no more. Like, I look like a boss, I feel like a boss, I taste like a boss. Max Bigger Val. Out of here, man. So Jim Jones. Compare the names. Look, Max Bigger Val. Jim Jones. God, don't even add up.
In the meantime, Max and Kelvin's trial started in May 2009 and lasted until June. Both were found guilty on June 9th of 9 out of 11 crimes, including felony murder. This conviction would follow them for many years. The punishment was severe. Max was sentenced to 75 years and Kelvin received a life sentence with an additional 35 years. Gina received a 15-year term for her role the next day. Max later filed an appeal in the hopes of getting a better result, but by August 2012, the appeal had been turned down, maintaining the 75-year sentence. The impact of one of the most startling cases connected to the New York rap community continues to this day. When Max B's entire case broke open once more in 2016, things took a drastic turn. It was discovered that his initial attorney had a significant conflict of interest, which ought to have been discovered years earlier. As a result, the verdict was overturned, and Max ultimately pleaded guilty to aggravated manslaughter, which reduced the lengthy 75-year sentence to 20 years. That had a profound impact on his entire future. On November 9th, the news became viral on the internet. After serving over 16 years in prison, Max was formally freed, marking a significant turning point in anyone's life. According to those close to him, he was focusing on getting back in touch with his family, grounding himself, and attempted to transition into a new phase of life with greater stability. His return was a topic of constant conversation. French Montana, who has been devoted to Max from the beginning, was among the friends, family, and devoted supporters who were waiting for him. "Can't make this up," French wrote as he shared a video of himself greeting Max outside those jail gates. "On my birthday, my brother actually arrived home. You're no longer free, Humler." The video of the reunion went viral. This is where the narrative abruptly veers to the left, because there was a lot of drama between Jim Jones and Max B, and it didn't just happen. Max wasn't merely sticking around for vibes when he initially linked up with Bird Gang and the Dipset movement. He was working hard on his ideas, hooks, melodies, and verses. He had first-hand experience with the music that was popular at the time. Max has long been rumored to have contributed to popular songs such as We Fly High. Whispers continued whether or not people agreed, and that in and of itself increased the tension. However, the actual conflict began in the background. Max claimed that he was putting in a lot of hard work and creativity into the music, but he wasn't getting the credit he thought he was due. There is hardly any pay, no decent shine, no fair divide. There were rumors that Max was leaving events with a few $100s, while Jim Jones was earning large sums of money. Anyone will feel taken advantage of by that kind of disparity.
I'm gonna keep it tall. That's kind of how I missed out on Max B. I'm just being straight up honest. And Jim ended up signing him because Jim seen the vision, because Jim had an outside vision of Max. I grew up with Max. Charlie Rambo, play all day, joking all the time. So when he came to me and said he's gonna start rapping, I was like, yo, Charlie, stop playing. His exact words was killer. They were like, no, let's get this clicking like Dorothy's heels.
Max B, he wasn't Max B, his name was Charlie Rambo. He get out of jail, he come up to me. This is word for word. So I'm like, Charlie, what up when you guys say, yo, Flea, I just came home. I said, y'all said you always just come. He said, yo, Flea, you know how to rap now, let's get this.
Max also didn't keep his feelings to himself. He made it clear that he wasn't receiving fair treatment and most definitely wasn't being treated equally. Despite being denied a seat at the main table, he felt as though he had contributed to the creation of the idea. Brick by brick, that kind of contempt accumulates until it reaches a breaking point. Things became even more heated once Max distanced himself from Bird Gang. Together with French Montana, he began releasing songs that were daring, self-assured, and incisive enough to show that Max was no longer keeping quiet. They didn't always need to utter Jim's name out loud. Everyone could tell who the shots were directed at just by listening to the tone. People finally realized how much Max had contributed to the sound that everyone adored when the music revealed a new aspect of the narrative. Jim Jones has consistently maintained that he never attempted to prevent Max B from receiving his money, claiming he was just following his instructor's instructions. This is the section he failed to emphasize, though. Max didn't simply accept that fate and leave empty-handed. He filed a lawsuit. The judge ordered Jim to return everything after Max filed a lawsuit over his publication rights. That little element quickly alters the entire narrative. Cameron has discussed this topic on multiple occasions, and he has consistently supported Max's position. Jim tends to take credit for his accomplishments and demand control over others around him, according to Cam. He didn't construct himself. He even disclosed that he had previously intended to sign Max. However, Jim swooped in and dragged Max into Bird Gang before he could move. The Dipset circle became tense just because of that. Over the years, Max and Cam have maintained their composure in spite of all the drama. One of Max's first significant actions after being freed was to schedule an interview with Cam and Maze. The atmosphere was courteous and serene. They discussed the history of Harlem, Max's time away, and his current desire to end his life. And take note of this, throughout the entire exchange, Max made not a single direct reference to Jim. Max didn't make jabs, bring up the past, or cause any trouble. He appeared to be looking forward rather than backward. However, Jim appears to still be carrying a huge burden beneath the surface, even though Max isn't talking about him. When asked directly in a recent interview if he could let the past go, Jim didn't sidestep the question. He said no outright. His entire mood abruptly changed. He didn't want to explain it, unpack it, or soften it. It was evident that the question touched on a topic he wasn't prepared to discuss. Just that one moment sparked conversation. Some viewers thought Jim was still emotionally connected to early events. Jim still gets triggered thinking about the old online videos where Max was clowning him non-stop on WorldStar, dropping jokes, dropping jabs, and calling him out again and again, one user commented. It's not unexpected that some of those instances resonated with him because they were widely shared online at the time. Others mentioned the hotel event from years ago, claiming that serious incidents leave a lasting impression on all parties. However, a different viewer's perspective was very different and softer and caused you to pause. They responded, "The only reason Jim talks tough now is that Max isn't standing in front of him in person." According to them, if those two ever crossed paths face to face, there's no way they wouldn't eventually break down the tension and rebuild some kind of brotherhood. The love is still there, they declared. And the notion that both parties were harmed but are unwilling to acknowledge it. Since both of these guys ultimately experienced allegiance, betrayal, financial difficulties, lost time, pride, and public disgrace, that viewpoint is really painful. Everything that causes emotional damage. Additionally, it can be more difficult to mend a broken tie if it was once deeper. The animosity between Max B and Jim Jones did not remain in the past as some people had anticipated, despite everything that transpired between them. Following Max's publication, a plethora of old videos, interviews, and behind-the-scenes tales began to reappear online, and people started making connections that made the conflict seem like more than just a personal rivalry. The extent to which Max shaped the sound that ultimately propelled New York rap into a new era was one topic that kept coming up. Fans began dissecting classic mixtapes, highlighting choruses, flows, and harmonies that rappers still use today. Max was even referred to as one of the pioneers of the current wave, which sparked fresh discussions regarding legacy and credit. The industry's perception of Max has changed since he returned home due to that energy alone. Conversely, Jim has rebuilt and reshaped his profession over the course of several years. He has been doing business, releasing music, and accumulating achievements. However, some claim that his responses to Max still point to a deeper issue, such as unresolved issues or unhealed scars. The atmosphere in the room suddenly shifts as Max's name is spoken. The fact that the two's separation not only damaged their romance, but also altered entire alliances in Harlem is another important aspect that people frequently bring up. While Jim doubled down on dips and loyalty sparked divisions that reverberated throughout many crews, Max's connection with French Montana created its own wave. Even now, older city dwellers discuss those times as if they were witnessing a local chapter develop in real time. People also mentioned how Max's legal predicament altered everyone's course. Certain projects were shelved while he was imprisoned in 2009, some songs were never completed, and entire movements stalled. According to several insiders, the entire New York sound would have taken a different turn in the 2000s if Max had remained free. Just that notion keeps the discussion going. And now that Max has been freed, he's once again the center of attention. After being absent for so long, many are curious about what his music will sound like. Will he continue with his previous style? Will he change into anything different? Will he go in a different direction or get back in touch with former partners? Max has always had a natural ability to transfer energy without even trying, which is why everyone is watching. Jim's followers, meanwhile, are fiercely defending him, claiming he has moved on and doesn't owe anyone an answer. Even though Jim is now focused on other things, they feel as though the internet is always reliving old turmoil. However, some contend that the emotional strain is too great to be disregarded. It is rare for two talented, egotistical individuals to leave without feeling anything. And that's the problem. In the eyes of the public, Max B and Jim Johns are still connected, regardless of how much time has gone by. There is more to their story than just music. It's about loyalty, pride, treachery, and what happens when friendship and commerce collide until everything falls apart. Many people who are seeing the situation play out are stating that Jim's reaction stems from unresolved feelings from the past. When someone has that kind of background, it doesn't go away just because time goes by or their job advances. And for that reason, some people think his reaction wasn't motivated by rage. It has to do with pain. You could tell by the way he becomes tense when Max's name is brought up and the way he shuts down some topics. I don't care about that. That person still has feelings. It's also difficult to determine whether such intense feelings indicate the possibility of reconciliation or the permanent closure of the door. However, there is another aspect to this tale that is rarely discussed. Max returned home with a more composed demeanor, much more grounded, and the appearance of a man who is prepared to enjoy life without getting sucked into old turmoil. Anyone can change after 16 years inside. Additionally, it was evident from his interviews that he prefers freedom over conflict and peace over conflict. If both parties desire it, that in and of itself creates a path for healing. The true question is whether they will ever be able to have a face-to-face conversation without being surrounded by so much noise. Fans can easily take sides and voice their thoughts, but only Max and Jim are privy to the true details, situations, and tales that take place behind closed doors. Additionally, bonds can occasionally be broken by factors other than money or credit. They are more profound, intimate, and difficult to describe. Some individuals think that because Harlem is small, the rap world is smaller, and paths cross unexpectedly, time will finally force him to speak. Some believe that pride is too lofty and suffering is too deep. They claim that the public back and forth, the old interviews, the barbs, the stillness, and the distance all contributed to the construction of a wall that was too high for either man to scale. But one thing is evident regardless of your stance. This tale is still unfinished. The vibe in the room is rewritten by Max B's freedom. The industry's keeping an eye on everything he does, whether he stays in his own lane, finds new alliances, or reconnects with old ones. Jim's reactions will also continue to garner attention because people want to know if the past will be a burden or if both men will eventually let it go. This is the actual question for you. Do you believe they can move on, or has too much happened for them to ever return to a state of brotherhood? There are many facets to this problem, so please share your ideas with me. For more crazy celebrity tales and behind-the-scenes drama, don't forget to hit the like button, leave a comment, share the video, and subscribe. In the next one, I'll see you. Don't go too far either. There is even more celebrity mayhem in the next video that appears on your screen. Click it to continue the drama.